Dogs have multiple impacts on the environment. The biggest one by far is food production, which produces greenhouse gas emissions, uses land and water, and has multiple other effects. In our studies, raw foods, wet foods, and diets that are really high in meat of the types that you might eat. So for any meat, for example, if it had chicken breast or beef steak or anything like that, and it has the highest environmental impacts. If foods instead use types of meat which are nutritious but not commonly eaten by humans, so for example, some of the organ meats, livers, lungs, might be perfectly nutritious but not so much eaten, they have much lower impacts. We did find that grain-free products tend to have more of the meat which humans also eat in it, and so higher impacts than standard dry foods. And we found an over 60-fold difference between the lowest impact foods we looked at and the highest impact foods. One of the things to say is with all of the food types we studied, there was big differences between different foods in the same group. But often grain-free diets have less grains in them, and that is replaced with higher impact proteins from meat. And so the issue isn't whether there's grains in a food or not, it's what else you put in there instead. Now, for some patients, or if it's being advised from a veterinary point of view, there may be a reason why you couldn't have grains in the diet, but that's actually relatively rare. Inherently, grain-free foods are not needed for a lot of pets that people may choose to feed them for. And I think people need to be aware that one of the trade-offs that they're making if you choose a grain-free food, if it's got more meat in it, is it may have higher environmental impacts. Using what we call animal byproducts, these bits of meat that aren't so commonly eaten by humans in pet food is really important. Increasing the proportion of plant-based ingredients can also be helpful. So if you put plant-based ingredients in pet food, you can still produce a nutritious diet for dogs, and so that can help. But there's other things. Simply avoiding overfeeding a pet, even if you're feeding the same food, will make a massive difference and also make your pet healthier. And really, people being able to choose whether their food is higher or lower impact relies on them knowing what is in there. And from that point of view, improving labeling so that people can really tell what is in a food is important, because then people can choose what they're feeding their pet and also include in that decision-making process the potential environmental impact.